I wish I could say I planned it. I wish I could say I was brave enough to send those words on purpose. But the truth is, I was sitting alone in my quiet duplex on a Thursday night, leftover takeout getting cold on the counter, texting my best friend Cal about how I ruined the only marriage that ever mattered to me. One wrong tap of my thumb, and the message meant for him went straight to Elise. I stared at my phone as the 2 gray check marks appeared. Then they turned blue. The message was simple but heavy. I do not want to move on. I want to deserve you again. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might actually pass out. Elise was not just any woman. She was my ex-wife. The woman I married at 29. The woman who walked out of this same duplex 3 years ago when she was 32, because loving me was breaking her heart. My name is Nathan Carter. I am 37 years old. I am a civil engineer. I build bridges across rivers and highways for a living. But somehow, I could not hold together the one bridge that mattered most. Elise is 35. I wish I could say I planned it. She is a physical therapist. She spends her days helping people learn how to walk again after injury. She fixes what is broken in other people's bodies. But when we were married, I never noticed that her heart was the thing slowly falling apart. We have been divorced for 3 years. 3 long, careful, polite years. We text on birthdays. We show up to mutual friends' barbecues. We hand each other Tupperware dishes like strangers who once shared a life. We smile. We keep it safe. We never talk about what really happened. And now she had read the only honest thing I have said in years. I was not even supposed to send it to her. Cal had been texting me for over an hour before that. He had sent me a photo of his newborn daughter sleeping on his chest. I told him congratulations again. He told me to stop hiding behind that word. He said I had been congratulating him for 2 weeks just so I would not have to talk about myself. That was Cal. He could turn a baby picture into therapy in 3 messages. He asked if I had been on any dates. I said no. I wish I could say I planned it. He asked why. I said work was busy. He sent back one word, liar. Then he pushed harder. He reminded me of Jordan's barbecue last month. He said he watched me watch Elise for 2 straight hours. He said I looked like a man staring at a house he used to live in. I did not reply for a long time. But Cal does not let silence win. He told me to just say it. To say the thing I have been choking on for 3 years. To say it so it would stop eating me alive. Something about that night broke me. The duplex felt too quiet. The air felt heavy. I was tired of pretending I was fine, so I typed the truest words I have ever written. She was the only person who made my life feel like more than a blueprint. I did not just love her. I loved who I was when she stood next to me. I want to go back to every doorway she ever stood in and look up the first time. I do not want to move on. I want to deserve her again. That is the only thing I want. I hit send. I set my phone down on the coffee table and pressed my palms against my eyes. I wish I could say I planned it. I felt like I had finally exhaled after holding my breath for years. Then something told me to look at the screen again. The name at the top of the thread was not Cal. It was Elise. The air left my lungs. My hands started shaking so hard, I almost dropped the phone. I watched the message change from delivered to read. Every second felt like a full minute. My mouth went dry. The room tilted slightly, like the floor had shifted under me. I tried to type a correction. Sorry, wrong person. I deleted it. That was not meant for you. I deleted that too. Please ignore that. I erased it again. Every excuse felt like a lie. The message was the only honest thing I had said since she walked out of this house. Then, the 3 dots appeared on her side of the screen. They disappeared. They came back. I stood in the middle of my kitchen gripping the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then her reply came through. 5 words. No question mark. No hesitation. Stay where you are. I am coming. I read it 4 times. I wish I could say I planned it. Each time it hit harder. She was coming here, to this door. The same door she walked out of 3 years ago with a suitcase and a look on her face that still haunts me. I had no idea if she was coming to forgive me or to finally say every angry thing she never said back then. It took her 23 minutes to get to my house. I know because I watched every second crawl across the microwave clock. I thought about cleaning the kitchen. I thought about changing my shirt. I thought about splashing water on my face so I did not look like a man who just blew up his own life with one message. But I did none of that. I just stood in the hallway between the kitchen and the front door, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears, waiting. Then I heard the knock. It was not loud, not angry. It was steady, certain, the kind of knock that told me she had already made up her mind somewhere between her townhouse and my porch. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob. I opened the door. Elise stood under the porch light wearing a gray cardigan and jeans. I wish I could say I planned it. Her hair was down around her shoulders. Her eyes were red but steady. She was holding her phone tightly in her hand. The warm Memphis night air carried the faint smell of jasmine from the neighbor's yard. She did not look furious. She did not look soft either. She looked like a woman who came for the truth. She held up her phone between us. My words glowed on the screen. "Did you mean it?" she asked quietly. "Every word, Nathan, did you mean every single word?" My throat tightened. Every instinct inside me told me to protect myself, to shrink it down, to pretend it was not that serious. But she had waited 8 years of marriage for me to be honest. If I lied now, I would lose her in a way that would never heal. "I meant it," I said. My voice cracked. Every word. "I was not supposed to send it to you, but I meant all of it." Her chin trembled slightly. She looked away for a second toward the dark street. Then she looked back at me. "Let me in," she said. And I knew that whatever happened next was going to change everything. I wish I could say I planned it. She walked past me into the duplex like she had done 1,000 times before, but this time it felt different. Not familiar. Not safe. It felt like stepping back into a place where something fragile had once shattered, and neither of us knew if the pieces would cut us again. The door clicked shut behind her. The sound echoed in my chest. She stopped in the living room and looked around slowly. The same brown couch, the same bookshelf, the same lamp in the corner. But her eyes were searching for something else. Maybe signs that I had changed. Maybe signs that I had not. Her gaze landed on a small framed photo sitting on the middle shelf. It was us at the Memphis farmers market. She was holding a bunch of sunflowers and laughing at something I had said. I remember that day clearly. I remember how bright she looked in the sunlight. I remember thinking I would always have time to make her feel that way again. That photo was never displayed when we were married. I had put it up a year after she left. "That was not there before," she said softly. I wish I could say I planned it. "No," I answered. "I put it up later. I needed to remember what I lost." She walked closer to it. Her fingers hovered near the frame but did not touch it. When she turned to look at me, her eyes were full. Not crying, just full, like the tears were waiting for permission. "Why did you never say any of this to me, Nathan? 3 years! We have been 20 minutes apart for 3 years. Why did you never come to my door?" Her words hit deeper than anything she could have yelled. "Because I was ashamed," I said. The truth came out heavy. I spent the first year after you left trying to understand what I did. I started seeing a therapist. His name is Dr. Rowan. He made me see things I did not want to see. "Like what?" she asked. "Like how I treated our marriage like a project I could manage, instead of a person I needed to show up for. Like how I thought providing and planning were the same as loving. Like how I made you feel invisible without even realizing I was doing it." My voice felt tight in my throat. I wish I could say I planned it. The more I understood it, the less I felt like I had the right to knock on your door. "I thought you deserved someone better, someone who would actually look up when you walked into the room." Her breath caught. She crossed her arms like she was holding herself together. "You do not get to decide that for me," she said quietly. "You do not get to hurt me and then decide I am better off without you. That is not protection. That is fear." She was right. I had hidden behind silence and called it respect. I was afraid, I admitted. I was afraid you would look at me and see the same man who never showed up. I could not survive seeing that in your eyes." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The air felt thick, but honest. Then she did something I did not expect. She sat down on the couch, slowly, like she was testing whether it still felt safe. "6 months ago," she began, "I was at Jordan's barbecue. You were in the backyard sitting on the grass with his little girl. I wish I could say I planned it. She kept knocking over those plastic cups and you kept rebuilding them and laughing like it was the most important thing in the world. I remember that day. I remember not knowing she was watching. I had to leave," Elise said. "I told everyone I had a headache. But the truth is, I stood by the kitchen window watching you for 10 minutes and I cried. My chest tightened." "Why?" I asked quietly. "Because that was the man I married. That was the man I fell in love with. Patient, present, paying attention. I could not understand where he went during our marriage. Why he was giving a stranger's child what he never gave me." The room felt smaller. My eyes burned, but I did not look away. "He did not go anywhere," I said. "I was just too scared to show up. I thought if I kept working harder and planning more, I would somehow become enough. I did not realize you were standing there waiting for me to just look at you." Silence settled between us, not cold silence. The kind that comes when truth finally has space to breathe. Then she said something that made my heart stop. "I wish I could say I planned it. I never stopped loving you, Nathan." Her voice shook. "I stopped being able to survive loving you. There is a difference." The words hit me harder than any accusation. "When I read your message tonight," she continued, "I did not feel angry. I felt scared. Because if you meant it, then I have to decide whether I am brave enough to try again. And trying again means giving you the power to hurt me the same way." I stepped closer but did not touch her yet. "I am not the same man," I said quietly. "Not because I promise to be perfect, but because I finally understand what it costs when I disappear. If you ever feel invisible again, I want you to say it. I want you to drag me back into the room. I will not fight it." She studied my face like she was searching for cracks in my words. "Do not promise me forever tonight," she whispered. "Just promise me tomorrow. One day where you choose to be here. That is all I can handle." "Tomorrow," I said without hesitation. "I promise you tomorrow." She nodded slowly. Some of the tension left her shoulders. We sat there for a while. I wish I could say I planned it. Not touching, just breathing in the same space again. It felt strange and familiar at the same time, like returning to a house you once lived in and noticing both the comfort and the damage. After a few minutes, she looked at me carefully. "Are you seeing anyone?" she asked. "No. I have not dated since you left." She searched my face again, maybe checking for pride or guilt. "Me neither," she admitted softly. "I tried once. It felt wrong. Not because he was bad. Because I was not finished with you. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears." "I do not expect you to just forgive everything," I said. "I know trust does not rebuild overnight. It does not," she agreed. "But it can start somewhere." She stood up then, walking slowly toward the hallway that led to what used to be our bedroom. She did not go inside. She just stopped at the doorway and looked in. "Do you remember the last night before I asked for the divorce?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "No," I said honestly. "I stood in that doorway for almost 2 minutes," she said. "I wish I could say I planned it. You were at your desk, drawing that highway overpass. I was wearing a blue dress. I had bought it for my birthday dinner that you missed. I thought if you looked up on your own without me asking, it would mean I still mattered." Her voice broke slightly. "You never looked up. That was the moment I knew I was alone." The weight of those 2 minutes crushed me. I could picture it clearly now. The glow of my computer screen, the sound of my pencil. The woman I loved standing behind me waiting for a simple glance. I stepped closer to her in the hallway. "I cannot get those 2 minutes back," I said quietly. "But I am looking now. I will not stop looking again." She turned to face me fully. Her eyes were shining but steady. "I need to believe that," she whispered. "Then believe it one day at a time," I said. "Starting with tomorrow." For the first time that night, she reached for my hand. Not tightly, not desperately, just gently. And I understood that this was not forgiveness yet. It was something harder. It was the beginning. She did not stay the night. I wish I could say I planned it. That surprised me. Part of me thought that once she reached for my hand, everything would rush forward, that we would fall into old patterns, old comfort, old heat. But Elise has always been stronger than that. She squeezed my fingers once, then let go. I need to go home, she said softly. If we are doing this, we do it right. I nodded. My chest felt tight but not panicked. 3 years ago, I would have taken her leaving as rejection. That night, I understood it was caution. I walked her to the door. The Memphis air was still warm, heavy with the smell of summer grass. She paused on the porch and looked at me like she was memorizing my face again. Tomorrow, she reminded me. Tomorrow, I repeated. When her car disappeared down the street, I stood there for a long time. The house felt different. Not empty, charged. Like something had been restarted. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I did not check my phone first. I did not open my laptop. I wish I could say I planned it. I stood in the kitchen staring at the sunlight coming through the blinds and thought about how easy it would be to slip back into old habits. To tell myself this was enough, that she came over, that we talked, that was progress. But she did not ask for progress, she asked for tomorrow. So I texted her at 8 sharp. Good morning. What time can I pick you up tonight? There was a pause before her reply. 7 works. I did not ask what she wanted to do. I told her. Farmer's market Saturday morning. Dinner tonight. Real date. She sent back a single word. Okay. At 7 that evening, I was parked outside her townhouse. I stood at her door feeling nervous in a way I had not felt since our first date 9 years ago. When she opened it, she was wearing a simple white blouse and jeans. Nothing dramatic, but my breath caught anyway. You look beautiful, I said. She studied my face like she was checking if I meant it. Then she nodded once. Thank you. Dinner was at a small Italian place near downtown Memphis. We used to go there when we were first married. I wish I could say I planned it. Back then, I would sit across from her and check emails between bites. That night, my phone stayed in my pocket. I felt it buzz once. I ignored it. Halfway through dinner, she noticed. You are not going to look at it, she asked carefully. No, I said. Whatever it is can wait. You cannot. Her eyes softened just a little. We talked about work. About her patients. About a little boy she had been helping learn to walk again after surgery. The way she described his first independent steps made her face light up. I realized how long it had been since I truly listened to her stories. Not politely. Not halfway. Fully. When she laughed at something I said, the sound hit me straight in the chest. I had forgotten how much I missed that sound. Saturday morning we went to the farmer's market, the same one from the photo on my shelf. The air smelled like fresh bread and roasted coffee. Vendors shouted prices. Kids ran between tables. It felt alive. She walked slowly past the flower stand. Her fingers brushed over a bundle of sunflowers. I wish I could say I planned it. Those were always your favorite, I said before I could stop myself. She froze for a second and looked at me. Surprise flashed across her face. Not because the words were big. Because I remembered. You remembered that, she said quietly. I should have remembered everything, I answered. She bought the sunflowers. I carried them. The gesture felt small but heavy with meaning. For the next few weeks, we kept seeing each other. Not rushing. Not pretending the past did not exist. Some nights we would walk along the Mississippi River with her dog Baxter. Baxter decided quickly that I belonged to him again. He would nudge my hand until I scratched behind his ears. Elise would laugh and say he had forgiven me faster than she had. But it was not easy. There was a night at my place when my phone buzzed during dinner. My body reacted before my brain. My eyes shifted toward the counter. My thoughts started drifting toward whatever problem waited on the other side of that screen. I saw it happen. And so did she. Her shoulders stiffened just slightly. Not dramatic. I wish I could say I planned it. But I noticed. 3 years ago, I would not have. I picked up the phone, turned it off completely, and set it face down. Then I looked straight at her. "I am here," I said. She held my gaze for a long moment. Then her eyes filled with tears. "Not because of the phone. Because of what it meant. That is all I ever wanted," she whispered. "Not perfection. Not grand gestures. Just to feel chosen in the moment. Chosen." The word stayed with me. I realized that love is not proven in big speeches. It is proven in small, repeated choices. Over and over. A few weeks later, she invited me to her place for dinner. The townhouse felt different from the duplex. Lighter. She had painted the walls a soft gray. There were canvases leaning against one wall. I did not know she had started painting again. "You still paint?" I asked. "I never stopped," she said. "I just stopped showing you." The honesty in that sentence cut deep. I walked over to one canvas and stared at it. It was a painting of our old back porch at sunset. 2 chairs side by side. Empty. "I wish I could say I planned it." "You painted home," I said quietly. She nodded. I never stopped seeing it that way. There were moments when fear crept back in. I could see it in her eyes sometimes. A question she did not always say out loud. What if he disappears again? One evening we were sitting on my back porch watching the sky turn orange. She had gone quiet. The kind of quiet that means something heavy is sitting underneath. "Do you remember the last night before I asked for the divorce?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "No," I admitted. "I stood in your office doorway for almost 2 minutes," she said. "You were drawing that overpass." "I was wearing a blue dress. I just wanted you to look up. If you looked up without me asking, it would mean I still mattered." The image hit me hard. I could see it clearly now. The glow of my computer screen. The sound of my pencil. The woman I loved standing there waiting. "You never looked up," she finished softly. That was when I knew I was alone. My throat closed. I did not defend myself. I did not explain. I just looked at her fully. "I wish I could say I planned it." "I am looking now," I said. "I cannot change those 2 minutes, but I am here now. And I am not leaving the room again." She reached for my hand slowly. I held it carefully, like something fragile and priceless. "I am still scared," she admitted. "I know," I said. "So am I." But this time, fear was not running the story. We were. The first time she told me she trusted me again, it was not dramatic. There were no fireworks. No big speech. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday night in my kitchen. We were making dinner together. She was cutting vegetables. I was stirring pasta. My phone buzzed on the counter. I did not even look at it. I kept talking about something stupid Cal had said earlier that day. She watched me for a few seconds. Then she smiled, in a way that felt different, softer, safer. "I trust you," she said quietly. I stopped stirring. I looked at her like she had just handed me something fragile and priceless. "Are you sure?" I asked. She nodded. "Not because I forgot what happened, but because you do not forget what matters anymore." I wish I could say I planned it. Those words meant more to me than I can explain. Not because they erased the past, but because they proved the present was real. Months passed. We kept choosing each other. Not loudly, not perfectly, just daily. There were still moments when fear tried to whisper. If I worked late, she would sometimes grow quiet. If she grew distant, I would feel panic rise in my chest. But instead of shutting down, we talked. We asked. We stayed. One afternoon, Cal invited us over for a cookout. It was the first time we showed up together as something real again. When we walked into his backyard, he looked at us like he had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. "About time," he muttered under his breath. Elise laughed. I squeezed her hand. I did not let go. At one point, I found myself sitting on the grass again with Cal's little girl stacking plastic cups. She kept knocking them over. I kept rebuilding them. But this time, Elise was sitting beside me. Not watching from a window, not crying alone in a kitchen. She was right there, her shoulder brushing mine. I wish I could say I planned it. And when I looked up, I met her eyes immediately. She smiled at me. Not surprised this time, just steady. That night when we got back to my duplex, she stood in the hallway and looked around slowly. "This place feels different now," she said. "It feels smaller," I admitted. "It does," she agreed. We both knew what that meant. This house held our worst memories and our second chance. But it did not feel like a beginning anymore. It felt like a bridge between what we were and what we were becoming. A year after that accidental text, I sold the duplex. Not because I hated it, but because we deserved something that belonged to both of us from the start. We found a small house in East Memphis with a wide back porch and a yard big enough for Baxter to run until he collapsed in the grass. Elise claimed the spare bedroom immediately. She filled it with canvases, paints, and an easel by the window. I watched her set it up like she was building a piece of herself back together. On our first night there, boxes were still stacked in every room. Nothing was unpacked. I wish I could say I'd planned it. Nothing was organized, but it felt right. We sat on the porch steps with Baxter curled at our feet. The air was warm, the street was quiet. I pulled out my phone and opened the old message thread. The accidental text. I handed it to her. She read the words slowly under the porch light. "I do not want to move on. I want to deserve you again." "I did not mean to send it," I said softly. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I know. But you meant every word." "I did," I answered. "I meant them then. I mean them now." She smiled slowly. The kind of smile that reaches the eyes and stays there. "Best mistake you ever made," she whispered. I let out a quiet breath. Best mistake I ever made. I wrapped my arm around her. She leaned into me without hesitation. There was no tension left in her body, no waiting to see if I would look away. I looked at her fully. For a long time we just sat there in silence. Not the heavy silence we used to have. Not the kind filled with things unsaid. This silence felt full. Full of growth. Full of honesty. I wish I could say I planned it. Full of love that had survived something hard. I used to think love was about building something perfect. Like a bridge that never cracked, but I was wrong. Love is about showing up when the cracks appear. It is about looking up when someone stands in your doorway. It is about choosing tomorrow, and then choosing it again the day after that. That accidental text did not save our marriage. Honesty did. Staying did. Listening did. If I had erased that message, if I had covered it with excuses, I would still be sitting alone in that duplex pretending I was fine. Instead, I am here, on a porch that smells like cut grass and summer air, with the woman I almost lost because I was too afraid to look up. Sometimes I think about those 2 minutes she stood in my office doorway years ago. The blue dress, the silence, the missed glance that cost us everything. I cannot change those minutes, but I can change every minute after. And now, when she walks into a room, I look up. Every single time.